Next up, at UFC 293, we have Nasrat Haqparast taking on Landon Quinones. Nasrat Haqparast, 14-5 overall. 3-2 in his last 5. He is coming off the decision win over John Makdessi. Taking on Landon Quinones. This guy's 7-1 overall, 5-0 in his last 5. Coming off a short stint on the Ultimate Fighter. Nasrat Haqparast, this guy has been around forever, and at one point was like a really big prospect and was really going to do something. They were pushing him. He's an Afghani fighter, and they're like, yes, this is a great market for us. And didn't turn out that way. Had a couple of tough matchups, started to lose a few fights, but the reality is he's still a very good striker. He does have some high volume. He lands more than 5 significant strikes per minute. He's got a really good 78% takedown defense. When he can push a pace, when he can find a rhythm, he's a really hard guy to beat. He just broke a 2-fight skid with a decision win over John Makdessi, where he worked in 2 takedowns and a knockdown. Taking on Landon Quinones. I mentioned this kid's coming off the Ultimate Fighter. He's immediately being thrown into deep water. I mean, this is a tough... Here's your official UFC debut. I mean, this is a tough fight to get right off the jump. Style-wise, he's a decent striker, but a very slick wrestler. He's probably going to categorize himself as a striker, but he could be a slow starter on his feet. It takes him a little while to gauge the range and the rhythm, but what he does well is work in those takedowns. He's going to lower his level, shoot a clean shot. They're not desperate. They're usually well set up. They usually result in some real nice pressure on top. And, he's a well-rounded guy that could probably have some success in the UFC. It's not going to be in this fight, though. These odds are super wide. These odds are super wide. We've seen Nasrat lose fights.
Sorry to crush your dream, buddy. It's not going to be this fight, though.
I thought you were laughing at me because you're on the other. I thought you were on Landon's side, so you're laughing at me.
No, just the way you said that. He probably is going to have some success in the UFC. Not this fight, though.
But the reality is, like, Nasrat, we've seen him lose some fights. But, I mean, how many times have we broken down fights where it's like, that's a pretty well-rounded guy. Oh, he's fighting like an actual talented veteran. We just saw that on the UFC Paris card. There's a couple of fights like that. Like, oh, he's actually fighting somebody who's been here for Volkov. Bogdan versus Volkov on the Paris card. And I fell into that trap. I'm like, Volkov can be chinny. You can get to him. And that's not Nasrat here, but it's like, oh, Nasrat can be taken down. Nasrat can be outworked. And that's how Dan Hooker beat Nasrat. He just outworked him, took him down. I don't see it happening. I think Nasrat's going to defend the takedowns. I think Nasrat's going to have the much better striking, much more volume, and I think he absolutely gets it done. Certainly Quinones can steal this fight, but it's a fist fight. You can say that about anything. What do you think, Jakey Bangalots?
Yeah, there's nothing too, crazy to break down in this fight. As you mentioned, I like Landon's game. I mean, he is a respectable opponent for Nasrat. There could be moments in this fight where you're like, oh no, because if you have Nasrat, I'm sure a lot of people, even if they don't know anything about the fights, they see this guy and they're, 400, 500 favorite. Okay, parlay. He is a parlay piece. He boom, boom, boom. And there could be a moment in this fight where he is flat on his back. Or there could be a moment in this fight where he does eat a shot because he can get hit as well. But I just don't think Landon kind of has that extra gear, that extra edge. He is at a great camp, Kill Cliff. We saw Angelosa last week coming out of Kill Cliff. Looks fantastic. He is an experienced guy more than I would say than a 7-1 record, but he kind of wants to do what Nasrat does. Nasrat will also kind of mix in a takedown or two. Nasrat wants to just kind of stand and kind of box with you, and he should be better pretty much everywhere than Landon, unfortunately for Landon, because he is a good fighter. But Nasrat's good. He's got good footwork. He knows how to stay safe defensively. In this fight, it feels like he should be able to take a few more chances, right? That John Makdessi fight, you kind of wish that he was...
He's technical, yeah.
Right, and he will not go 100%, right? I mean, he's just touch, because you'll see once he finally goes, he can land power. And Landon seems like a guy where Nasrat, if he wants to turn into a guy, as Angelo mentioned, he was brought in as kind of like he could be a prospect. If you want to make a statement in the lightweight division, in a pay-per-view, this is your chance against a guy like Landon. I think he's hittable, and I think if you start landing power late first into the second, you can find a finish on this guy. So I'm going Nasrat all the way here. And it is what it is.
Yeah, and Nasrat's the type of guy, they rushed him. Let me pull up, I'm going to pull up his record real quick. Nasrat's the type of guy where they did bring him in as a prospect, and he was supposed to be this, like, super high-level guy. Like, they're loving that region. And a lot of those people, He came in undefeated, I believe, and then he got his losses, which that's how the UFC should work, right? Actually, I don't think he lost all 5 of these fights in the UFC. But, he did lose
He lost his very first fight.
Yeah.
And then he lost by Marcin Held. Got knocked out by Jim Dover. Happens. Got outworked by Dan Hooker. Happens. And then got outboxed by Bobby Green. That happens,
But then he's got some quality wins, too. Alex Munoz, Division I, very solid wrestler. That's a good win. Rafa Garcia, that's a good win. John Makdessi, he's old, he's a little slower, but he's a technical striker. That's a decent win. Joaquim Silva's a good win, and Mark DeCasey is a good win. So Nasrat Haqparast, we don't need to convince you he's good. He's a minus 500 favorite here. But.
And just so I can add this in here, Alex Munoz sucks.
I get it, but it's still...
We found that out a couple months ago, guys.
But the point is... Well, he won that fight, but yes.
Holy fuck.
The point is...
My God. That was when we both doubled down on that tip we received. He barely beat a guy with one arm. Holy fuck.
Well, Nasrat Haqparast should be getting the win here. Pretty confident in that. Unfortunately for Landon, it's going to be a tough UFC debut, but... we'll see what happens. Although the $9,500 in DraftKings fantasy for Nasrat, it's a tricky. He's not finishing people.
There's better spots. Yeah, there's probably better spots.
No, 100%. I completely agree.
Unless he starts really going in on the wrestling for some reason, but I don't know.
Which he got 2 takedowns in his last fight, so we have seen him use the wrestling in the past.
Really good, really well timed too. That one of them was really late versus John, right when you saw it, because John's a tough dude, and he knew he was down in that fight, so he started getting really aggressive. And Nasrat stifled that aggression really well with a really well timed double. So even if he gets in trouble here, he does have that in his back pocket. He's a smart guy.
100%. He had a knockdown in his last fight. In his last fight, Nasrat Haqparast scored really, really well.
Right.
So this fight's gonna be. It's a tricky decision. Do I use him? Do I not use him?
He knocked down John, didn't he? Who's John fighting?
In fact, it's the next fight. Before I go to that though, how about the? Let me plug the promo. Hold on.
Okay, I'm ready.
Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. It's only $10 a month. You'll unlock everything you've ever needed, including detailed breakdowns on every single fighter and how you should use them in different types of DraftKings fantasy entries, including detailed data, metrics, and analytics to help you find your own spots, including tools like the line movement tracker that will identify the odds. They'll be able to highlight lines that have flipped and moved, including the DraftKings Optimizer, including FanDuel content, including Prize Picks and Underdog, including me, Jacob, Running Mouth, and Artem's picks and bets. There's your plug. Hey, how about this graphic, though? You see those little kangaroos in the background? That's...
I see Landon's tiny little nipples, man. Those things are beady.
Forget the nipple. Look at the It's a field of kangaroos.
You know what Sean Strickland said on the Embedded today?
What do you say?
He's like, I haven't found a kangaroo to fight yet, but I promise, guys, as soon as I fight one, I'm squaring up with it. This fucking guy's a psycho.
He is.
I was laughing at someone said, "Can I get a backstory how Jacob and Angela met?" I know I heard it a few times, but tell me again. And then his next comment was, "Where are you neighbors?" Angela loves neighbors.
And we were neighbors. Yeah, and I do love neighbors.
I was the original neighbor.
Well, I had neighbors before you. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on.